community, like a longer term community activism in the Toronto like area, right? Like like CCNC, like a whole bunch of groups have been doing this kind of like anti-racism work for a long, long time. I'm not sure about the York region, like sort of whether there are a lot of community groups in the York region. Partly, I think, because Toronto has been around longer in the sense as a city, right, as a region than York region. Because I think a lot of the education has to be done through the community themselves as well, right? So I don't know if there's any sort of like a community structure to work with, like to work on this kind of issue. Because I think in a way, it's like hate crime is only like I guess in a way it's a very extreme manifestation of racism, right? And I think the general kind of anti-racism work needs to be done, right, in order to address the hate crime as well, right? So I don't know, maybe Godwin or like
and that's a very good point. I'll tell you, in the past we've had when we have incidents in schools where there's some type of racism or prejudice or bias involved with any type of activity, we get calls from the school to send our hate crime officers in to do a presentation. Obviously, we'd have to do it age appropriate. Mm-hmm. We have to focus on the ages of the kids that we're speaking to. But within York Region, we have the character education. We say York Region is a character community, and we've got character education, which talks about many positive attributes for people, right? But one of the things, though, when we would do the assemblies, we would always ask to do a presentation also to the parent councils, because it's important for it's important for parents to know what we've told the children, especially in this very sensitive area of race relations and diversity. But more importantly, we also recognize that many children formulate views and ideas and opinions in the home, right? And sometimes under the influence of parents. So we need to make sure that the message we're giving to the children is the same message we give to the parents, right? So yeah, we definitely have to send those types of messages out. Within the region, we work with a couple of different organizations, specifically the Federation of Chinese Canadians in Markham, FCCM. Okay. We do a lot of work with Dr. Ken Ang and his group. We do work with Sandra Young Rocco out of Vaughan as well. Again, all in the promotion of diversity, mm-hmm. With the Richmond Hill Markham Chinese Business Association. Right? We work very closely with Councillor Godwin Chan. With the FCCM group, we have it's actually part of a larger organization called the Canadian Federation of Intercultural Friendship. And the Canadian Federation of Intercultural Friendship is a group that is sort of an umbrella organization that is representative of many, many different cultural and ethnic groups that form this organization. And we have a police community liaison committee, of which Mr. David Barrow, the mayor of Richmond Hill, mm-hmm. was the chair. Dr. Ken Ang was the chair. Now Chief Labarge is the chair. But we've got representation on this particular group from every one of our 9 municipalities in York Region. Right? So we've got regional councillors, mayors, deputy mayors that sit on this particular committee. And the idea behind this is, again, furthering the cause of diversity and inclusivity within York Region. So we're working on that on a regional level. And currently within the region, there are 5 of our 9 municipalities now have diversity committees. Vaughan, Richmond Hill, Markham, Newmarket, and Georgina, the town of Georgina. So and some of the other communities have also expressed an interest in forming these committees. So we're in that process of working with them. But apart from that, we're always open to people contacting us, calling us in our unit. We're very accessible on cell phone and through emails and through our office lines for presentations, anything that can help us all grow and learn. And then we learn a lot when we go out and do presentations as well. So we're always accessible to that. I mean, we don't only stay within our region, but sometimes our work takes us into other parts of the GTA as well.
Joseph, about statistics.
Yeah.
How many hate crime related charges been made for the last 2 years? And also, were those offenders be prosecuted? What's the maximum penalty? In York Region, we've had in last year we had 83 reported incidents
83 reported incidents of hate. And again, they come from many different groups, but about 2/3 of the types of criminal activity that we deal with are vandalism, mischief, or the criminal offenses of mischief. Some of the other ones would be like assaults, threats, obscene phone calls, those types of activities, right? In terms of victimized groups, members of the Chinese community, we get very, very few reports, and we recognize that. We try to do a lot of work in trying to get those numbers up. I mean,
Hopefully not. No, I know what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Get them reported.
Get that report.
To get those reports.
We try to help to.
We would hope that we're not encouraging hate crime. But what I'm saying is that we try to get more people to report to us. That's important.
Yeah.
Obviously, we would never want to see an increase in hate crime, but regardless of whatever happens, when people report it, we would take those reports and we would conduct investigations into them. So it's important that even though we see underreporting in many communities across the region, we encourage people to report. And again, I had mentioned earlier that our approach to hate crime is something that we take very, very seriously, and our unit is set up like that deliberately so that we can sort of get like a holistic approach when it comes to dealing with and promoting diversity in our community.
Yeah. So what about the sentencing? Like as I mentioned, the penalty. Like if somebody convicted.
I'll give you two examples. We had we had a case a number of years ago from a person named Brad Love who was convicted for willful promotion of hatred and received 18 months in prison. 18 months in prison for that, and at that time that was the highest penalty ever given for willful promotion of hatred in Canada. That was when Chief Labarge just became Chief of Police, and there were a number of very nasty letters sent to him and a number of other people, very prominent people, and so we prosecuted that right here from York Region, and he received 18 months. Most recently, we had an investigation in the town of Georgina where a black skeleton was painted black and hung from a pole, extremely offensive. Very nasty stuff written on the Confederate flag flying above it as well. We sought a prosecution on that. We conducted the investigation, sent the information to the Attorney General's office, received consent of the Attorney General, and successfully convicted someone under the willful promotion of hatred, and he received 45 days in jail. Right, so jail time was given for this. So when it comes to to prosecuting these, yeah, definitely. When we get the help of the community, when we can get the witnesses, we can get the statements, we can get the evidence, and put it all together. We're relentless in our prosecutions because we've got two very, very successful cases. In fact, there's another one that's before the courts right now that we're monitoring very, very closely, and which may also have some type of very strong message for the community. So, but that'll reveal itself in a few weeks. But again, the police, we will go out, we'll collect the evidence, we'll meet with the people, we'll do the interviews. But if we have people that see things that can help us along in these investigations, it's most certainly welcome.
So how many of those 83 cases are being prosecuted?
Probably about a very low percentage, only because we don't have, for many of them, we don't have the witnesses, right? We don't have like, for example, when we're dealing with things like assaults, yeah, we can, because we know we've got physical evidence, we've got people who can point out other people. But when we're dealing with some of the occurrences that involve mischief, that are done, like, for example, in a wooded area, probably in the dark, in the middle of the night, who knows, where no one can see you. There's no visibility to the park or homes. It's a little more difficult, but it's not impossible. But it's a little more difficult and a little more challenging.
Still, it should be reported.
Oh, most certainly, yeah, most certainly. And one of the reasons we mentioned that if you come across something that may appear minor, it may be something scratched on your car, on the hood of your car, and you may think, well, I didn't bother the police with that. There could have been 10 other similar incidents taking place on your street that same night for your neighbors, and they may not have called the police as well. So what we've done is we've overlooked a crime spree, right? And that's why we ask for people to call, because what we do is we have crime analysts that look at all the reports and say, hey, hang on a sec, there's 10 reports on the same street, let's pay particular attention right here, right? And that's how we and that's why we encourage people to report.
You think the law is,
So you're talking about 45 days in jail and also 18 months in jail. That's reasonable to you.
Well, I'll tell you, in Canada we have some of the best laws. So I think probably some of the toughest laws in the world. I think Germany, I believe, probably has some of the toughest laws in the world when it comes to hate crime and hate crime prosecutions. But again, from a policing perspective, our role is to just gather information, to lay the appropriate charges, to make sure we have a strong case when we take it forward to the courts. And the way they rule, they give out sentences, that's beyond our jurisdiction, right? I mean, you always hear people complaining about sentences given to people, but that is beyond us. And again, it's just following.
No matter how minor it is, it should be reported. Actually, that will help the York Region Police to do their job.
That's right. We can't be everywhere at the same time, but we know that there are people out there who may see things, who can report it to us. Give us a call, and we will many venues and many avenues for us to get the information. But we most certainly ask for the cooperation.
陳單身話俾佢聽，我琴日冇返工。